Hello there, and welcome to a new issue of the Indicator Spotlight. About once a month, we feature an indicator from our library. It's a short video, about 10 to 15 minutes, with an explanation of the indicator concept, the most important functions, and how you can use this in a trading setup, along, of course, with a free download link to the indicator featured. And this time around, we're looking at the current week VWAP. Many of you will be familiar with the current day VWAP, which is available both from our library as well as from the NinjaTrader order flow tools. So first off here, we'll just talk generally about what this indicator is all about, and then we'll move on explaining how to use it a little bit later on in the presentation here. So this is really all about understanding the institutional perspective on a day-to-day basis. The volume weighted average price is a benchmark used to control execution cost. For one, institutional traders, they don't want to move the markets as they enter large positions, of course, so they have to find an area where the majority of the days or the week's transactions will occur. So statistically, 70% of all transactions during the session take place within one standard deviation of the VWAP, and that's the value area. So therefore, institutional traders are looking to execute as close as possible to this area, or the VWAP itself, where they will find plenty of supply and demand. In addition, the VWAP is also used for performance reviews among institutional traders. So good execution can be objectively measured by standard deviations from the VWAP, and bonus payouts are also often linked to where the institutional traders execute relative to the VWAP. So better execution than the VWAP equals higher bonus payouts. The current week VWAP plots the volume-weighted arithmetical mean of all transactions that take place during the weekly session. It is found by adding the prices for every transaction during the week divided by the total contracts traded during that time. So this is last week's VWAP for the ES 60-minute chart, anchored at the full session start of the week, Mondays, and the current week VWAP will therefore display the same information when anchored at the start of the full session. And readings of the current week VWAP can therefore, at the earliest, start from Tuesday on. So as I said, statistically, 70% of all transactions during the session will take place within one standard deviation of the VWAP. So that is the value area, and that's where the institutional traders are most likely to participate. And that in turn is, of course, something that we can use for evaluating trading setups. The general idea here is to look for trend entries when the prices retrace back towards the VWAP, going from inside the value towards the outer standard deviation bands. On the other hand, if prices are moving towards the outer standard deviation bands here, it's a good place to exit trend entries. Alternatively, look for outside in trades, going from the outer standard deviation bands back in towards the value area or the VWAP. Now, those trades going from outside in should, of course, be supported by additional support and resistance levels, and we'll take a look at that coming up here. We often get questions on the differences between the VWAPs that are available from our library and those that we offer in our premium VWAP package. So I'll just take this opportunity here today to talk a little bit more about that. The premium weekly VWAP also show the prior week value area. So we have a test of the value area high from the prior week here. The value area high is the upper standard deviation, first standard deviation of the prior week's VWAP. And then we went on to test this prior week VWAP level here. So this is where the VWAP ended up at the end of last week. These are, of course, important key support and resistance levels. So it's a good idea to be aware of where these levels are located. And as you see here, the premium version also comes with the mid bands. So we have here the upper 0.5 standard deviation resistance. And then we have here the lower 1.5 standard deviation, lower 2.5 standard deviation. And in the higher time frame VWAP charts, you'll be able to see these levels work as dynamic support resistance levels throughout the session. Of course, the regular standard deviation bands for weekly and monthly and monthly VWAPs are quite far apart from one another, and so that's where these mid bands come in quite handy here several times during the last weekly session. Here we have the monthly VWAP on a 240-minute chart of the ES. The VWAP is here anchored at the start of the month. Can't really see that in the screenshot here, but it's anchored at the beginning of the month or the first day of the month. And what we see here is the premium version. So we have the month here starting well above the prior month value area high. And then we had resistance here from the VWAP of 3 months ago. And then once this level was broken, we had a pretty steady uptrend here last month. And towards the end of the month here, we have the last week that we just had a look at for the weekly VWAP. That was these areas that looked like oversold were actually retracements here into the monthly value area. So combining these higher time frame VWAP charts is a powerful way of using multiple time frames to identify setup. So we had a oversold in the weekly, whereas that in fact was just a retracement into the monthly value area here. The premium daily VWAP come with the same features as we've discussed here. So what we see here is the VWAP 3 days ago. Just follow this line here, and we see this is where the VWAP ended up 3 days ago. And if we follow the VWAP from 2 days ago, we go 2 sessions back, and obviously then yesterday's VWAP going back here. So as I said, these are important support resistance levels observed by the institutional investors. So good idea to be aware of those levels are located, as well as the prior value area here for the daily, weekly, monthly, and monthly VWAPs. In the premium package, there are also a few additional options to calculate the bands themselves. So we have, apart from the standard deviation, we have residual standard deviation, residual mean absolute deviation, as well as quarter range as options. And we also have a integrated holiday calendar. As many of you will know, these double day sessions are treated as one single trading day, and therefore these abbreviated trading days are bundled together as one session, giving us a correct prior day value reading for the following. And here we have one example of that. You see a session break here, but this was a holiday session, so these two are bundled together, and then the value reading shows up here on the day after with a correct reading. So that is observed for Thanksgiving, Martin Luther King Day, President's Day, Memorial Day, Independence Day, as well as Labor Day. Finally, the premium package also come with a rolling VWAP. Here we have a 1-day rolling VWAP. So that is a moving window, not anchored at the beginning of the session, but taking data from the previous session, moving it forwards. So if you take a 3 or 5-day rolling VWAP, you'll be able to have a more accurate reading at the outset of the week. If you want to do a weekly VWAP reading also at Mondays, you can do that with the rolling VWAP, of course. And if you're trading instruments that do not have reliable volume information, such as cryptocurrencies or Forex, you can use the range-weighted average price for approximating the VWAPs. All right, so the free download for this month from our library is the weekly VWAP, and you'll find that here. Should be a nice supplement, as I said, if you're already using the daily VWAP. Members also have access to the daily, monthly, and end monthly VWAPs, and the TWAPs, as you see here, the time-weighted average price, the predecessor to the volume-weighted average price. In total, the library now has about 125 indicators available for a one-time payment of $150. So that's for all of the indicators, and it's a one-time flat fee, not a monthly fee. So with that, we'll wrap up this month's spotlight on the library version of the Current Week VWAP. As mentioned, the premium suite comes with a number of additional features, so you're welcome to swing by and request a free trial of those anytime. You can do that at lizardindicators.com/trial. Really appreciate you taking the time and tuning in. Please leave me a comment on the video below to give me some feedback, a thumbs up, or pass it on to a trading buddy on Facebook, Twitter, or via email. In the meantime, have a great rest of the week, and I look forward to hearing from you sometime soon. Take care and bye-bye.